Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. First of all, Happy New Year. It's 2020, it's crazy. Last year went so quick. Amazing things happened last year, so hopefully amazing things continue to happen this year. And yeah, wishing every single one of you that's watching this a successful and positive and awesome 2020. Now this video I thought I'll do because just like myself, I'm sure a lot of you are goal setting and planning your fitness journey for this year, your fitness goals, whatever they may be. So I thought I'll do a simple video to kind of give you some tips on what I do, when I'm setting goals and what I've done in the past that's helped me to achieve a lot of my goals along the way. And this is from years of experience and years of trial and error as well. So hopefully you might find some of these useful. I thought it would be a nice video to do, especially like the start of the year. So yeah, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. That would be awesome. And don't forget to subscribe. So let's get into the first one. So the first thing when goal setting, and this also can apply to your work, this can apply to anything, is make sure your goals are SMART. Now that's an acronym, so make sure they are specific, make sure they're measurable, make sure they're attainable, realistic, and time-based. Now I will give you a perfect example of this, and I've been guilty of this. So a lot of people will say, I want to lose weight, or I want to be, the size of The Rock. I want to look the same as my fitness influencer, for example. Now, that doesn't say anything. And this is actually sets up a lot of people for failure. If you say to yourself, oh, I want to lose some weight, that is just there is a broad spectrum of what that could mean. Even though you're saying you want to lose some weight, but so how much weight do you want to lose, for example? So you need to make that goal SMART. So now how you can do that is you need to be more specific. So it could be, I want to lose 10 pounds in 5 months. That's specific. Or I want to, be the size of The Rock in about 2-3 years. That's specific. You need to have specific goals. If it's to be, you want to add some mass, if you want to add some lean muscle, okay, I want to add 3 kilos of lean muscle mass in a year. That's specific. So when it comes to being measurable, using the example of I want to lose 10 pounds in 5 months, we can say I want to lose 2 to 3 pounds every month leading up to the 5 months. That makes it a lot more measurable. If you're trying to add 2 to 3 kilos of lean muscle mass, exactly the same thing. Okay, so you need to also have a way that you can measure and make sure you're staying on track of your goal. So don't just have, okay, I want to add lean muscle mass, I want to add 3 kilos of lean muscle mass. Well, how can you measure and stay on track of that to make sure you're on track for the whole year? Same applies to if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to lose body fat, for example. So, give yourself a way to measure that to make sure you're staying on track till you get up to that 5 months. So I'm going to keep using the weight loss, actually, it just makes it easier. Now, in terms of being attainable and realistic, so I'll put those two together. So for example, if you said I want to lose 10 pounds in a month, then I would say to you that is not realistic. It might be attainable, but you would have to starve yourself, which is the most unhealthiest thing ever. Or if you said to me, I want to look like The Rock in about 12 weeks, then I'm going to laugh at you because, that's absolutely not going to happen. No way. So your goal needs to be attainable and it needs to be realistic. Be realistic with it. I get a lot of people who say they want to look like a certain fitness influencer, for example, and they want to do it in a year. I always say to them, go and research that person, find out how long they've been training, and you will find out that it's probably been years. It's been years that they've been training. So that would give you an idea of what you need to do to make that goal realistic or to make it attainable. When it comes to weight loss as well, so a lot of people have been eating and getting bigger and bigger and bigger over years, and then all of a sudden they want to lose all of that in the space of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month before they go on holiday. So just keep that in mind when setting your goals. Try and be a lot more realistic with your goals and make sure they're attainable as well. Time-based is already covered. So if you said I want to lose weight in 5 months, I want to lose 10 pounds in 5 months, you've given yourself a time goal as well. So that is part of making sure that your goal is smart. So if you apply this to any goal you want to set, it doesn't have to be about fitness. It could be about your job, anything. It actually helps you because making sure that your goal is smart allows you to see where you're progressing. Next, we have nutrition. Now, nutrition is a bit of a minefield for a lot of people, but in my opinion, it's the most important aspect of training, just as important. And if you don't get this right, your training a lot of it will be in vain. Now, there's so many ways people approach nutrition, and people have different types of diet. I don't like to call it diets, I like to call it nutrition, because diet has certain connotations that I like to avoid. So a lot of people approach their nutrition differently, and a lot of people will follow maybe the Atkins diet, or will do keto, or carb cycling, IF. In my opinion, whatever makes you happy and works for you, stick to it. I always go with the principles of whatever your goal, you have to focus your nutrition to your goal. And it's all about calories in versus calories out. Now, like I said, I like to keep it simple, KISS. I carb cycle a lot of times when I was doing, bodybuilding and I was dieting a lot, I did carb cycling. I tend to do that now where I stick to high carbs when I train, low carbs when I'm not training, and I also manipulate my fats as well. So let's go with the goal of you want to lose weight. Now, if you want to lose weight, or if you're trying to lose body fat, not weight, because that's completely different. If you're trying to lose body fat, you would want to be at a calorie deficit. Okay, so if you're not at a calorie deficit, doesn't matter how much you're training, you would struggle to lose body fat. You might lose body fat to begin with, but you will struggle. And it's just how it is. It doesn't matter what nutrition approach you follow as long as you are at a calorie deficit. Okay, so when you're trying to add lean muscle mass, the same applies. You need to be at a calorie surplus. Now, to make sure you're at a calorie deficit or surplus, you need to obviously know what your calories are and your macros are. I prefer to calculate this using my total daily energy expenditure, TDEE. You will see this a lot. Now, nowadays, back in my days, we didn't have this actually. Nowadays, there's loads of macro calculators out there that are free that would help you calculate a lot of your macros and calories for your goals. There is so many that it's absolutely pointless manually doing this now, because all you have to do is put in certain statistics, body weight, how much your activity level is. You put all that in, your age, what you do as a job, and that gives you your total calories and your macros. So I would advise every single one of you watching this that don't know how to calculate your macros and your calories to look up. There's loads of websites out there that would help you calculate your total daily energy expenditure. This is very important. Now, once you get that information, this is what you'll be using towards your goal. So let's use the example of you're trying to lose, 10 pounds in 5 months. You calculate your macros and your calories using a tracker, and then it shows you that your maintenance calorie is 3,000. Now, if you're trying to lose some body fat, you will need to be finishing under that. So you need to be consuming less calories than your maintenance. So if your calories is 3,000, your maintenance is 3,000, you want to finish the day on 2,800, 2,700. Okay, so if you're trying to add lean mass, if that's your goal, and your maintenance is 3,000 calories, your TDEE is 3,000 calories, you would want to be 3,200, 3,300 every day. This is what you want to be consuming every day if you're trying to add mass, because again, you have to be at a calorie surplus. But if you're trying to lose weight, you want to be at a deficit. So I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. So hopefully that makes sense. So again, just to round up with nutrition, make sure you know what your calories and macros are. Figure out what your daily total expenditure will be and use a tracker for this. It's honestly, it will make your life so much easier. Once you know all these things, then that would help you and guide you towards your goal. You have to be at a calorie surplus to add size, or calorie deficit if you're trying to lose some body fat. If you're not trying to do either of that and you just want a maintenance, what you need to survive and not lose weight or not add too much weight, you just need to find your base daily intake, then that would be your maintenance. So next we have meal prep. Now, I can't emphasize enough how important this is. This helped me massively when I started training. I made sure I prepped my meals every single week, every day, without fail. It can be monotonous, but once you get the hang of it, it makes life so much easier, especially when you have a goal and you want to achieve something. So when meal prepping, here are a few things that I did that helped me, is always plan ahead. So you have your goal, you have your macro goals for if you're trying to lose weight. Let's say you got the 2,500 to lose some body fat, and then you got 3,500 to add some lean mass. Now you want to break that down into macros, and you want to be able to prep your meals according to your calories and your macros. And the best way to do this is sit down and plan the week. I know this sounds monotonous, but trust me, it will be worth it. If you sit down, I used to do this every Sunday and plan my meals. There's a lot of great fitness macro and calorie trackers now. Perfect example is MyFitnessPal, which I'm not being sponsored by them, but there's so many now. There's tons of them. Like I keep repeating, you guys are so lucky. When I started, I had none of these. I didn't have an iPhone, I didn't have trackers. So now you can track everything on your phone. And a lot of these trackers, when you put your meals into them, it gives you the macros, the calories of every single thing. Make sure you utilize them, make sure you use them. When it comes to meal prepping, prep your meals in advance. Maybe 3 days in advance. Prep your meals. I guarantee you, if you do this, it would help you stay on target with your goals. You might have off days, that's absolutely fine. But as long as you prepare yourself for the week, you're least likely to fail. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's absolutely true. Also, when it comes to meal prepping, this is something I can't emphasize enough. Variety is key. When it comes to your meals, don't stick to the same food. For the love of God, don't stick to the same foods every single day. Unless you're happy with that, fine. I always find that most people fail because they stick to the same foods 7 days a week for months on end, and then eventually you get bored. What I would advise is try and change things up. So, switch between, chicken to beef to fish. Try and use different spices when it comes to making your food. Don't just put salt and pepper. That's not enough. That's not spice. I'm Nigerian. I can't just do salt and pepper. Try and find different sources. If rice gets boring, maybe use pasta. If pasta gets boring, maybe use couscous, quinoa. There's so many ways you can make your meals interesting. Try and use different type of vegetables. Don't just stick to broccoli and cauliflower. Try and make your meals more interesting, because that would help you stay on track. Now, when it comes to bulking, here's one thing that a lot of people struggle with is consuming enough calories. I don't struggle with eating enough. That's a fact. I always eat. I love food. So I've always never struggled with. I struggle with under eating. I overeat all the time. However, there is nothing wrong with using a mass gainer to assist you when it comes to bulking, when it comes to trying to add some size. So if you've got 3,500 calories, which might be too much for most people to consume, especially if it's clean meals, maybe 2,500 of that could be solid meals, and then you can use a mass gainer to make up the other 1,000. That's absolutely fine. There is nothing wrong with a good quality mass gainer. Don't be afraid of it. And I know some people are like, oh, it's protein shakes. If you get a good brand, you should be absolutely fine. This is better than trying to force yourself to eat and then again getting bored and you falling back on your goal. So keep that in mind. Next, we have training. If you noticed, I touched on nutrition first before I even touched on training, because a lot of people do it the other way around. And this is where a lot of people fail, because it doesn't matter how much you train. Again, like I said, if your nutrition isn't on point, you're wasting your time. Now, when it comes to training, here's the one thing that always happens. If you're new to training, you're new to the gym, and you don't have a training plan, you just go in and start training, of course you'll make some gains. Yes, of course you will. It happens. But what tends to happen is most people plateau after a while, and then that's where you get stuck in a rut. So I always say plan your training. When I started training, I didn't have a plan. I just used to wing it, and it worked for a while, and then I just got stuck and I didn't know what to do. So when it comes to training, make sure your training is measurable, make sure there's progressive overload, and make sure that it's periodized. Now, this is 3 things that are really important when it comes to training. A lot of people fail with their training because they don't have those 3 important factors. When I say measurable, for example, some people will have a training plan, but they can't tell me what their 1 rep max is. They can't tell me what their 12 rep max is. They can't tell me what their 6 rep max is on a squat, for example. You're not measuring your progress. Just like you would measure your goals, your training needs to be measurable. Are you getting stronger? How are you getting stronger? When it comes to progressive overload, you want to make sure you have things like, you see in my video, tempo. You want to make sure you add things like supersets, drop sets, variety in terms of your rep schemes. 6 reps, 8 reps, 10 reps. Things like that are all part of progressive overload. This would challenge your body. This would push you and challenge you constantly. So when you want to periodize your training, you can say like, okay, I will do 4 weeks of strength training, of low volume strength training. And when I say low volume, I'm talking 3 reps to your 1 rep maxes. And then let's say another 6 weeks, you will focus on hypertrophy, high volume training. So we're talking 12 reps, 15 reps, loads of drop sets, loads of supersets. So periodizing your training, A, is part of progressive overload actually, and B, actually allows your training to be more interesting, and you also will be getting stronger as well as building muscle mass with hypertrophy training. And then on to tracking progress. So if your goal was to lose some fat, or if your goal was to add some lean muscle mass, well, are you weighing more than you were a week ago, 2 weeks ago, last month, 2 months ago? If you're trying to lose some body fat, are you weighing less? Sometimes this is probably one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't realize. Sometimes the scale isn't your friend. Sometimes the mirror is your best friend. Do you look different? Has your body changed? If the scale's not moving, but your body looks different, then maybe things are happening that you don't realize that isn't showing on the scale. I would always advise people to, yes, use the scale, but also use the mirror. Use your eyes, look in the mirror. I always try and use 2 different methods of tracking, and that is the scale and the mirror, your eyes, okay? So don't be disheartened if sometimes the scale's not moving, because that is what a lot of us rely on. But what you see in the mirror actually looks completely different to what the scale is showing you. The scale can't tell you about your body composition. It just tells you how much weight you've lost or added. Now, another thing a lot of people neglect to add is, yes, you might not lose fat as quickly as you want, or you might not add muscle as quickly as you want. But another thing to track is, are you happy? I know this sounds weird, but let me put it this way. So the scale might not be moving. You might feel nothing's changed, but you're actually happier. In my opinion, that's progress. If you feel happy, if you're enjoying what you're doing, it might not reflect on the scale, it might not reflect on your, when you look in the mirror, but are you happy? Then that's progress. People forget to factor in happiness when it comes to fitness, health and fitness. It should be health, fitness, and mental health. That includes happiness. A lot of the times we don't factor that into it. I'll tell you a story. When I was dieting to do a comp, I was the most miserable I've ever felt. I looked great, but I was extremely miserable. I wasn't happy because I was starving myself. And what happened after the show? My weight shot right back up because I couldn't wait to eat and feel better because I just didn't enjoy it. So part of tracking progress is tracking to see, are you happy? Ask yourself, write that in your diary, write that in your on your phone, whatever you use to track progress. Have that question: am I enjoying this? Am I happy? If it's yes, great. Doesn't matter what the scale says. Doesn't matter what you look like in the mirror, because mental health and being happy is also a big factor when it comes to health and fitness. Remember, you want to do this long term. Okay, you don't just want this to be a short-term thing. And that brings me to my next point of try to learn something new. This is something I didn't do when I started training, and I wish I did. And I do that now every time. I always try and set myself a goal of learning something new. Now what this means, it doesn't have to be something big. It could be, let's say you never used kettlebells before to train, add some kettlebell training into your routine. If you've never done any type of functional fitness, I've done a video on this, so you can have a look on that. If you've never done any type of functional fitness, add some of that into your training. And this also could apply to outside of the gym. Maybe learn a new activity. Maybe go and do some indoor climbing. Maybe go and learn to swim. Maybe do more swimming. Do something that you're not used to doing. Do something that takes you out of your comfort zone, because that makes your training a lot more interesting. That makes it a lot more fun. I know I keep saying have fun, and fun a lot of times with training and nutrition, but it should be. It shouldn't be a chore. You should enjoy it. Add certain things that you're not used to doing before, but you've seen them and you thought, oh, that looks interesting. Add that into your routine. Maybe learn to do some yoga. You know, maybe go out and do some more bike riding. It doesn't have to be something new, just something different. Add something new or add something different into your training. Trust me, that will make a huge difference, because you would always be looking forward to that challenge. And again, this just makes your training more interesting, it makes your training more enjoyable, and it gives you variety as well. So add something new or something different into your training. So the next point will be prepare yourself for setbacks. You will have setbacks. It happens to the best of us. You will get demotivated at some point. However, don't dwell on those days. If you have bad days with your nutrition, if you have bad days with your training, don't dwell on those. Chuck those behind, leave them behind, and keep moving forward. Okay, whatever you do next is what determines how you will attack and achieve your goals. I get demotivated some days. I don't want to train, it's too cold. However, you go into the gym, you've already won. Sometimes your meals might get boring, sometimes nutrition might get boring. That's normal, okay? So you've probably had a bad day, you've had a bad week, fine, don't dwell on it. Go back to your goal. Remember why you started. I know how that sounds really cheesy, but it's actually true. Remember why you're doing this, remember why you started. If you're bored with your training, try something new, try something different. Maybe go and do some swimming for a week, go and do some activities outside of the gym, join a class, do something completely different for a week, just to revitalize you and give you that much more enthusiasm to get back into training. When it comes to your nutrition, like I said to you, variety is key. If you try and keep some variety in your nutrition, it should help stave away the boredom. It should help make it more interesting, make it more palatable. But just be prepared for those days where you have no motivation. Be prepared for the days where you will hit a plateau in your training. It happens to the best of us. Just don't dwell on it. Know it's coming and then get over it. That is the only way, that's the only advice I can give, because it's happened to me. And unfortunately, no one else can help you out of that but yourself. You're going to have to say to yourself, you know what? I've had a few bad days, but it's time to get back on track. And last but not least is have fun. I've said this so many times throughout this video, but trust me, you will need to enjoy this. You will need to have fun. Enjoy it. Life's too short to take this whole thing too seriously, okay? If you hit your goal, awesome. If you don't, it's not the end of the world, okay? So have fun. Enjoy it. Don't stress yourself too much over it. There's so many things that can add stress to our lives. Health and fitness shouldn't be one of them. Try and enjoy it as much as possible and have fun with it. And hopefully, with some of these tips and guides that I've given you, you can apply this into your training. This is what's helped me along the way, and hopefully it can help you as well. So yeah, have fun. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this year is full of positive outcomes and you achieve all your goals and accomplish so much. Thank you for an awesome year in 2019, and hopefully you stick around with me this year as well, and we can all have a great year. Thank you again for watching. Peace out.